And then immediately right after, Punk pulls in behind him in a cooler, older car.
Now I
another
don't know,
another car.
I
a
don't
cool looking car. Welcome to 141 and 2/3%, the wrestling podcast hosted by two lapsed wrestling fans who are back and not going anywhere. Can you feel the backlash? Can you feel the backlash of the Kendrick Drake beef? Can you feel the backlash?
The only wrestling I want to talk about. Did you know, Tyler? Did you know that they hate each other? They hate each other.
Yeah, they fucking hate each other. And, you know, it's kind of weird as someone who's, like, so territorial about Canada, and then more specifically either Calgary or Toronto, the places I've spent the large majority of my life, to just be, like, completely not on Drake's side whatsoever with this shit.
I'm West Side, baby.
Full Kendrick, baby. Because he's better than Drake. I fucking hate Drake. Always have hated Drake. I've got, I think, maybe one or two songs in my library from Drake. No fucking interest in him whatsoever. And to watch King Kendrick, and I meant it, just absolutely eviscerate this poor... I'm not going to say anything. Okay, all those words, all those descriptors can come off racist. This poor man. Just eviscerate this poor man. I am just all for it. Like, you know, Drake can't even counterpunch. He tries to throw something out there, and Kendrick's already got like two songs ready to drop.
He's like, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? Honestly, it's some of the best wrestling we had all year. It's I can't wait to see this develop. I heard that Shawn Michaels reached out to both of them to settle it in the ring on NXT. Honestly,
bold move by Shawn. Bold move by the Heartbreak Kid.
Bold move. Let's see if it pays off for him. I wouldn't get in the middle of these two guys. Things seems like they're getting nuclear. But you know what? Shawn's not afraid of anything. We've seen that when for 20 years. All right, Shawn will do crazy things to people. He will just do it. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like okay, let's just get into it. Let's get into the news right now. Because we got a lot to cover today. It's a PLE episode, so these always tend to run a little bit longer, and we are TKO endeavoring to be more concise with our opinions here moving forward. I feel like we kind of got trapped a little bit in the initial format, you know, like we launched this podcast during Royal Rumble week, and we said, oh, you know, we're going to talk a little bit more about all of these people so that, like, you guys can get a sense of how we feel. But if you're here week to week, you understand how we feel about these people. So let's just try to consolidate this a little bit and take less time out of our schedules and less time out of yours. So let's move right into the news this week. Not too much to really say. Just wanted to touch on a couple on a re-signing and a couple departures. So we'll lead off with the re-signing. No real big surprise here. Seth Rollins is re-signing with WWE. I'm happy to hear it. He's currently on hiatus. I found it interesting because during the draft, they kind of avoided talking or drafting about drafting any people who were injured, either acknowledged on TV or off of TV.
Yeah, good call.
So,
good point.
Little interesting that they drafted Seth in that draft. So I guess they're projecting him to be back more like on a 4 to 6 weeks time frame as opposed to a 4 to 6 month time frame, right? Because you had Punk, you got Rollins, they both got drafted, and they're both essentially ready to come back. Where someone like maybe not even injured, but just having an extended absence, right? Like it seems like Jimmy's going to be out for a bit. Also, I think they're kind of keeping him off to the side until the Bloodline Civil War really kicks off. Which we're definitely going to talk about later. And, people like Roman, who also is a, arguably well-deserved break. You could argue he doesn't deserve a break of any extended period, considering how little he worked. But that's fine. That's not important. So just... I'm glad to hear that Seth is re-signed. Obviously, I think he's really come into a good place with his character. His ring work has always been there. His character has always been really grating, especially on me, which I've mentioned. But as I've also mentioned in the last couple of months, I think he's really settled into a good place with that character. And he can always come back in a variety of different ways, right? Any thoughts on the Seth re-signing?
No, I'm just glad he's coming back. It seems like the kid is going to be coming with him and Becky all the way around the world again. It's funny when we watch Seth wrestle and he does this like little Joker laugh. Every single time it looks like he's just drank. Yeah, it looks like he just drank Kool-Aid. And my fiance and I, we always go like, we have this headcanon situation before he goes out to the ring. He's like trying to get his daughter to like drink. To drink like juice or something, and he's like, "Come on, drink the fucking thing. I gotta go to work. The music's playing. The music's playing. Look, I'm drinking it. See, good. Drink the fucking thing. I gotta go. Bye." And just leaves.
I love this. I love this headcanon. I'm all for it.
Yeah. That's what I'm sure that has happened a few times in their life, being parents.
That's pretty fucking great. And then a couple releases. First is Gable Stevenson's gone. He was a much heralded signing, Olympic athlete. I think they kind of viewed him in the Kurt Angle vibe. And then, he had a moment at WrestleMania where they introduced the fact that they had signed him. He just never really found his place in wrestling. He just didn't really take to the business very well. And then, of course, I'm not sure how aware you are of it or any of our listeners, but there was some tacit sexual improprieties leveled at him when he was a wrestler in Minnesota that I believe all charges were stayed. But, it's not shocking that they didn't renew him because he was just so uninspiring in the ring and on the mic and every aspect of it. And what's really kind of ironic is that his brother Bobby, who signed to WWE as Damon Kemp, kind of felt like a nepotism hire when he was signed, but he's really taken to the business and he was not released.
Interesting.
He is a amateur wrestler nowhere near on the level as his brother, but really seems to be a lot better at, professional wrestling, leaps and bounds over his brother. And so it'd be really funny if at the end of this, the legacy of the Gable Steveson signing is perhaps a great talent in his brother, and that would be that's not ironic, but it would just be strange if that's how it all ends up at the end of it. I'm sure you're not probably very aware of Gable Steveson in general, right? Given your you're not really involved in wrestling to the same extent I was over the last decade.
Yeah,
the Steveson thing was over the last 5 years, but I'm sure you don't really have much to say about that.
I'm just looking at pictures of this guy, and apparently he's 23 years old. This is a grown-ass man. This guy is a grown-ass man. This guy has had like 6 different careers. He's been through 2 divorces. He's 23 years old. He does not look it in his face. I guess that's what combat sports do to you.
That is what, maybe not, I don't want to say steroids, but like, the increased testosterone of being an amateur wrestler since you were like 10, right? It's got to do something to your physiology.
Oh, God. This guy's a monster of a human being. What is going on here?
Beast.
All right. Yeah. Ugh, that's
and then the other release, it's not even a release, as confirmed by Triple H and the Backlash press conference, but Drew Gulak's contract has not been renewed. It was initially reported as a release when they were doing some NXT releases, because WWE will do this, and it's kind of been stated publicly that if they don't see any progress for some of their development talent over 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, they revisit these people, and if they're not showing any growth, then they just move on. They bring a lot of people in nowadays. They kind of have it down to a fine science of signing people with a background in sports, or on the women's side, or even the men's side to some extent, like cheerleading and gymnastics, things that are traditionally viewed as more feminine-based activities. But, if you're not showing progression on the mic, progression in your character work, progression in the ring, then they'll just move on from you. So there was a lot of people who were released from NXT. Drew Gulak was initially reported as released, and a lot of people kind of tied it into the allegations leveled by Ronda Rousey in her biography. But it seems to be more of a case where you got a middling guy. He's been in the business for a long time. You know, there's a lot of people you can cite in AEW who kind of followed this same pathway, had a little run in NXT, veterans of the business to some extent, and they just didn't really have plans for them to move forward. So now you're taking away development time in the development territory from development talent. And that kind of seems to be more of what it is. But if you're probably, you know, right on the bubble, sexual allegations by Ronda Rousey are going to pop that bubble and kind of send you packing.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
No, it's not great. And also, some other things have come out reported by some of the dirt sheets, so take it with a grain of salt. But that he has had some, I don't want to call them improprieties, but he's just been kind of a cock. He's just been like a douchebag to people, you know, like working stiff
From
with
what
some
I
of the
heard,
younger
yeah.
talent, and targeting injuries, and bullying people into not reporting them to talent relations. So who knows how much of that is just being leaked by WWE to kind of save face or kind of pull the eye of Sauron away from the sexual impropriety allegations by Ronda Rousey. It just kind of seems like a cock in general, not to throw too much shade here, because all of this is very he said, she said, and at the end of the day, it's Drew Gulak. It doesn't really mean much.
Sorry, Drew.
Yeah, sorry, bud. Okay, so let's roll right into Smackdown, May 3rd at the LDLC Arena in Lyon, France. Would you call that, what would that be in French? I always have to say the full alphabet to remember. No, not the name. No, the name of the arena. So it's ABCDEFGHIJKL. Okay. So LABCD. So LDLC.
LDLC.
LDLC Arena.
LDLC.
Oh, we're going to get there.
LC.
Oh, we're going to get there, Will. So we start off with let's just acknowledge everyone before we start doing this. We're going to talk about the crowd more at Backlash. But yes, we know the crowd was fucking fire for these two events. But we'll touch on it more when we get into Backlash. So we start off with an 8-women tag team match here. Standard go-home show stuff where you just kind of loop group two events together and just throw them all in a massive tag just to kind of build a little heat. So it's an 8-woman tag match. Bailey, Naomi, Jade, and Bianca versus Tiffy and Damage Control. In this case, being the Kabuki Warriors and Dakota Kai. And I just wrote here, should be hot chaos. It's mostly controlled stuff here off the start. Lots of quick tags. Everyone's getting spots. The only things I really wanted to mention, there was that nice little cartwheel flip to Alabama Slam by Tiffy onto Bailey. And I was just wrote, hopefully that sticks around and we see more of that, because it was not done well during Backlash, but it was very crisply done during SmackDown.
Yeah. They tried to do it again, Backlash, and didn't quite work out that time. But yeah, it looked great this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, as it's an 8-woman tag match, it breaks into hot chaos as expected towards the end. And then Bianca eventually gets the win over Dakota. And yeah, it kind of is what it was. Like, just like a minor match to start us off here, get everyone warm, and kind of just give the opportunity for commentators to talk about what we're going to expect at the PLE. Any other thoughts on the match?
No, it went exactly as I thought it was going to go. I do think that I liked this match more than the match with Bianca and Jade versus the Kabuki Warriors on Backlash. There was just a couple more spots I just enjoyed a little bit more. But overall, it was fine. It was fine. It was a good kickoff for the night.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so then we get A-Town Down Under just backstage promoing here and throwing some shade at the Profits. We move on to Jade and Bianca backstage interview. Bianca's mad at Damage Control, talking about how sick she is of them, while basically just staring down Bailey. So I'm not sure if this is a setup for anything in the future, in the immediate future with Bianca and Bailey. Those two have been warring since they both came up to the main roster. So yeah, it's an extension of, you know, them just being the two biggest women of their generation. or two of the biggest women. And Damage Control's obviously been targeting Bianca for years here, so it's just not letting bygones be bygones. It could set up something it couldn't. I think it's not. I think it's more of just like trying to keep the realism of Bianca not just forgiving everything after being targeted for like 2 or 3 years by Damage Control, but pretty standard stuff here. Then we move into Mello and Aldis in the back, and Mello declares for the King of the Ring. Lashley comes in, says, Mello, if you need any advice, I'm here for you. And Mello basically dismisses him pretty handily. I think part of this, and then Lashley says, be careful of who you disrespect. I think most of this is kind of...
Bobby, don't do it. Don't disrespect him.
I think most of this is maybe a reaction to the WWE maybe not understanding how much Mello's reputation from NXT was going to carry over into the main roster. I think they've been positioning him as a face for a long time. He kind of turned a little bit heel when Trick got over super well in NXT. And then when he got greeted with whoop that Trick's, chance at when he got drafted, I think maybe WWE might be pushing him a little bit, or at least keeping him down the middle and maybe pushing him a little more towards the heel side. And they're still kind of undecided on what they want to do with him. But hey, anything for the Pride to do that doesn't involve Final Testament, we're clearly all here for that.
We are here for it. That is a step in the right direction for sure. Honestly, I think it'd probably be better if Mello went to a more heelish type of persona. I think he walks the walk of a heel really well, especially when he was talking to Cody the week before, challenging him to that match at the end of the night, the main event. You could play around with this idea of him being this young, brash, egotistical up-and-comer, and then you can have guys like Bobby Lashley, like Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles even, just like thump him and go like, this is not the way, and then turn him face kind of naturally that way, if that makes sense.
No, I get that. Yeah, no, I think I see what you're saying there, and I agree with it. Then we move into a New Catch Republic versus AOP. And we kind of dealt with this last week where AOP jumped New Catch Republic in the back. AOP's moving to Raw, correct? Am I wrong about that?
So this was their last match at SmackDown before moving to Raw.
Right. So it was a quick little storyline here to kind of push the ending of AOP in the SmackDown universe, and a response to it. They showed some clips from NXT, which I was unaware of, where AOP was fighting for the NXT tag belts, and there was an interruption by NCR. So that kind of escalated it a little bit, and it was nice for them to kind of catch us up on that. But all Final Testament is here with AOP, which is, always kind of a telltale sign of where we're headed. And I just noted it was a strangely good mix here. New Catch Republic is seasoned enough to make their offense work against a big bruisers like AOP, and AOP is also seasoned enough to work with little high flyer technical wrestlers like this. So it was a surprisingly good match. AOP did a very good job of selling NCR's offense, little moments here and there, and then they started leaning into the overpowering aspects of their offenses, which is basically all they really have to offer at this point. It's always impressive when Bate gets these big men up for the spin. That was a nice little move, which
that was a great moment.
They also kind of they set it up a little bit where he couldn't get him up. And then he got him up, and so you kind of maybe thought he wasn't going to be able to do it.
He did it through the power of the French crowd. Power of Europe lifting him.
That crowd was so goddamn hot. We'll get there.
So good.
But impressive showing from NCR all around here. Distractions abound from Final Testament leads to the win for Authors of Pain, which, probably a good move here. You don't want to bury New Catch Republic, but there's just enough interference to make it make sense and kind of have them save face. And so, yeah, it's a pretty good booking decision here, I think. I think it's the best AOP's looked in a non-squash match. I think they looked way better here with some more seasoned wrestlers than perhaps the Street Profits are, because the Profits are good, don't get me wrong, but
I think it comes down to size. They're a weird size for AOP because they're too big to be the play on the David versus Goliath sort of wrestling motif that they have with New Catch Republic here, right? Like New Catch Republic, they can pick up, they can throw around. New Catch Republic can also like initiate these like high flying antics, and AOP looks like they know how to respond to those types of things. Street Profits are in this like weird middle ground. Montez is a little like he's a bit smaller and a little bit more leaner, I guess. So you could throw him around a little bit more. And the other guy, can't remember his name.
Angelo Dawkins.
Sorry, buddy. He is about the same size as AOP, a bit smaller, but like he's still a giant guy. You're not going to be seeing him
definitely presented as smaller. He isn't presented as smaller. Same way the AOP is,
yeah, but they aren't smaller. They aren't.
Yeah, I think they may have missed their window for breaking up the Profits. If I was Montez, I would be terrified, like in real life, of the addition of Mello to the main roster, especially on my show. Because Mello is occupying the space that they probably should have pushed Montez into about 18 months ago. Yeah. So, Montez has a lot of ability, and there's still a lot of room for him to grow. But again, him and Mello are very similar in body size, in presentation. Yeah,
in so many ways.
They're both black. Let's just get right to it. No, but it is like a weird thing where they both are very similar in their styles and presentation. And Mello is kind of a rougher diamond, but he's not as refined, but he's still probably going to be better than Montez in the long run. So I'd be
it's raw potential from Mello, like just pure raw potential. He's like what, 24, 25, like just a kid really, and and making his way, He's still, like you said, he got a lot to learn, but there's just so much potential with Mello. Montez is a little bit older, and you nailed it with they're occupying similar spaces. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they will figure it out.
Yeah. And then we move into Heyman and Aldis backstage. Heyman asks, "Hey, did you get my memo?" Aldis just straight up says, "Request denied." And the memo is Heyman wants RKO. I'm just gonna call them RKO because I keep writing it as RKO. I'm just going to call them, refer to the team as RKO. I will refer to Randy Orton as Randy Orton, and I'll refer to the team as RKO from here on in for the next two events here. So Heyman wants RKO pulled to save them from what the Bloodline 2.0 is ready to enact on these two. Heyman tries to leave. Aldis pulls him back, asks if that's by orders of the tribal chief. And then Paul comes back and says, "That's not funny." And then he finally kind of reveals to us that he has not spoken to Reigns since Mania. And it turns out that Heyman pulled Roman out of the draft to protect him from the chaos of what is happening with the Bloodline. And then Aldis says, "Hey, Paul, you can try to convince RKO yourself on the show right now." So we lead right into the RKO show. And then I just wrote here, sometimes I forget that KO is French. And like he is like legit Quebecois French. And so he comes out, he's getting a lot of love from the crowd because he's the only person. I'm trying to think of anyone else on the roster right now is French Canadian other than him and Sami Zayn.
I imagine he spent I imagine he spent the entire weekend in Gorilla translating for Triple H.
Yeah, I like that. It's just, it's not like they have a Hurricane Helms or what's his face? I'm blanking on his name. Jamie Noble, who's like an ex French Canadian wrestler back there. No, it's just KO, just working double time. Just wearing his ring gear with a tie loosely around his t-shirt.
Yeah, and then getting frustrated. I can just imagine now, like he's getting like Triple H would get frustrated because KO is translating between French and English, so he's speaking like both languages at the same time. And he's just like, "Shut up, Triple H! He really is. He really is phenomenal. La la la."
I did find it just because I don't want to forget it when we get there. I did find it interesting that like during Triple H during the press conference and also Cole talking about it with Pat on Raw, both of them had no idea what the translations were. And you would think at some point, I mean, we were looking it up immediately. You would think at some point someone would have informed them of what was happening and what the translations were. I was very shocked that both of them had no fucking clue. Anyways, so we get into the RKO show. Paul Heyman comes out speaking incredibly bad French. Now, like, for our listeners who are not from Canada, you know, if you weren't aware, we do have a large French-Canadian population in our country in a province called Quebec. And so Quebec is actually French is actually our second national language. So a lot of, like America, in the U.S. technically only has English as their first language, although Spanish is kind of technically a de facto second language. But like we learn French here. It's a requirement. And depending on which province you're in, you learn a little bit more, a little bit less. If you live in the Texas of Canada, Alberta, did you not do any French whatsoever?
I think I did it for like 3 months in grade 4, and then they dropped it like a bad habit.
Fucking Christ, we had it requisite until grade 9.
Yeah, no, I have one memory of French class, and yeah, they were like, we're not doing this.
God,
so I am
sucks.
Berta as fuck, bro.
Why did I move here? Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, I'm from Ontario.
There's a blood feud, all right? There's a blood feud between Alberta and Quebec. It's just like it's oil and water, right? It doesn't really mix.
Because a bunch of fucking racist assholes in the 70s decided to make it a blood feud.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Pretty much. Exactly.
Because there's like a whole Métis population.
We're not flinching,
you know. We shouldn't get into the whole Métis thing, but there is also a large French Canadian population in the prairies, less so in Alberta. But yes, there is a large French Canadian population from a long time ago. So, I know a little bit of French, and fucking Heyman comes out. I can't remember. He said something that was just like,
I don't know.
He was talking about how he starts talking about how he's the amazing, the incredible, the always underestimated Paul Heyman, right on, but he throws some French sayings on there. And so he calls himself a bon vivant, but he says it like, I am a bon vivant. A bon vivant. It's just like, so
bison?
Fucking cringe. Oh my God, Paul. Anyways, I don't know if that was part of the bit or not, but it was great. KO tells Randy, hey, if you let him into the ring, you know you can't RKO him, right? And Randy's like, but like I want to RKO him.
I want to.
But I want to. We want Roman chance breakout, and then Heyman, just as we talk about every week here, he's just so good with all of his acting, playing this character. He just stresses, you have no idea how badly I want him here too. And then he begs RKO to back out of the match for their sakes. Randy asks him, who exactly is the real tribal chief? Paul says there's only one tribal chief. And before he can answer, Tama and Solo jump them from behind. And then we get into the standard brawling and security guards. And then RKO ends up on top of all of it. Any other thoughts from this segment?
No, just a great segment all around. Really like the duo between KO and Randy Orton. Love that. I'm glad that it continue. They're leading into it more and more and more every time they get together. I love it. The pop for Paul Heyman, the ECW chants from the crowd. I know we're gonna talk about the crowd soon, but like I have to acknowledge the fact that when he said my name is Paul Heyman, you couldn't hear Paul Heyman finish his sentence because that entire crowd knew exactly what to do. It's insane how much they use.
C'est W. C'est W. C'est W.
Are you? What is that?
That's
Don't say that.
ECW in French. God damn it. You are so fucking Albertan.
What it was? No, I think you were saying something mean.
And then we get a quick little Street Profits backstage promo. And then we get a massive pop for LA Knight. And then I'm not really in the point right now. You know, we do so much with the watching and the analyzing and the notes that I don't really like follow the cards on social media. So I didn't know that he was fucking gonna fight Angel. And I just went, like, oh what? No. R.I.P. bud. And then we have a big moment for the podcast, guys. Angel comes out with all of Legado del Fantasma. That's right. I said it. You heard me. Congrats to Legado del Fantasma. You've been around long enough. You got drafted to a different brand than LWO. Congratulations. And I just wrote, you know what? Maybe he does stand a chance because he's not part of LW No anymore. He's part of Legado del Fantasma, a completely separate, independent Latino group that is not associated with the LWO at all anymore.
Earth-shattering. Absolutely
massive.
Earth-shattering.
Massive for the show. So yeah, mostly it's just an LA Knight showcase. He avoided the, serious tricks by Legado del Fantasma. And he wins the match, and oh shit, he's got a mic. He declares for the King of the Ring. Santos comes in with a mic, and then Santos just gets absolutely verbally shredded with everybody saying... You there, Will?
Was that me? You wanted me to do it? I thought you were going to go for LA Knight. Yeah.
See? Then we get Carlito. My God. Legado del Fantasma. Anything you want to talk about with this match? It was a semi-squash.
It was a semi-squash. Nothing really too crazy to talk about in the match. I
wasn't on the Backlash card, and everyone wanted to hear him.
We all wanted to hear him. And yeah, he was pretty bog standard stuff, but the pop was always nice. And you could see it on his face when he walked in. He was like, oh shit. All right, let's go.
Shit. Famous in France too. Sick.
Yeah. It turns out everybody's famous in France.
Especially on this fucking card. Then we get Carlito in the back with Saxton, and he's still in an LWO shirt. Says he just wanted another WrestleMania match with his familia, Dominic Toretto. LWO. But he picked Dragon Lee. Ray picked Dragon Lee instead, and that's not cool. Says it wasn't personal, and then Lee jumps Carlito, and we're still doing this shit, and I wonder how long we're going to go with it. Then we move into Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under. Nice back and forth here. Decent pace to start. Waller's doing his thing. And, Austin Theory's just so crisp and great in the ring. Can work with anybody. I did enjoy the spot with Waller caught on the top rope. And then, they look at him and he's like sitting on the top rope like, oh God, you saw me. And then he did the coast-to-coast dropkick a la Shane McMahon, which was nice. He did kind of catch him a little rough, but whatever. And then a nice finish with the accidental distraction by Mello, being caught in the ropes. Again, pretty standard stuff here.
Did you say Mello? Mello was in the match?
Sorry. See, this is... Oh, shit. This is how
Careful,
much
buddy.
They occupy the same space in my brain. Is that I literally wrote Mello instead of Tez.
Glad I caught that.
Yeah, that's not good. Then we get the AJ Cody face-to-face leading into the main event of Backlash. Cody's going for the camaraderie angle, and AJ doesn't want to hear any of it. AJ's stumbling a bit here. I don't think he knows what the crowd is saying yet. He will soon understand that they're cheering for him. Yeah. But in the moment, I think he's a little overwhelmed by everything that's happening. And obviously Cody's so crisp on the mic.
It would be so disorientating to be trying to do a show, to cut a segment, and everybody in the room is screaming something that you don't understand. in unison over and over and over again. And you can see it on Cody's face as well. Like throughout the segment, they're just kind of like, what the hell do we do here? Like this
do
is
we
a
let
new
it
song.
breathe? If we let it breathe, I think they might just keep singing forever, and they're not going to stop and let us talk. So we got to talk over it. AJ throws some shade at the Stardust character. He's kind of playing the Cody running away angle with him having to climb the ladder when he showed up unwelcomed, but Cody left and got to come back to open arms. Cody needed help from a bunch of legends, at WrestleMania to win the title that AJ has already beat. And the crowd is just on fucking fire. And Cody asks him, who are you trying to convince here? Because Cody's done nothing over these last few weeks but just put AJ over to the crowd for everything that he's accomplished in the business. And, he says he's looking at AJ as his first title defense. And that's too sweet. And he pulls out the too sweet hand gesture that's, made famous by NWO Wolfpack, but in more modern times, the Bullet Club. And he goes to do it, and AJ finally puts up his hand for the too sweet kiss, and then slaps the shit out of Cody, and that's basically it. Then we cut really quickly and really hard to RKO and the Bloodline just brawling, and then a hard out. Which, the last 2 minutes of this was very wait, what? Slap, boom, they're brawling, okay, and scene.
Pretty much it. It was just kind of it seems like chaos is going on, and I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to see where it goes, but we all knew that Backlash was coming the next day. So let him go. We can end it here. It was fine. It was a fine finish.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent go-home show, and you didn't really have to hype up anything here because in the end of the day, it's a minor pay-per-view. We know not much is going to happen. So let's get right into it. It's Backlash. It's May 3rd. From the LDLC Arena in Lyon, France. And we kick right off with RKO versus Bloodline. They both come in, good entrances. The crowd, again. Should we touch on the crowd now, or should we wait till after Backlash?
I think we just kind of sprinkle in throughout the entire night, because everybody gets a moment. Everybody gets a moment.
Just throughout this, they are just here for it. They're so starved for it. I was putting it together. Lyon is more in the south of France, and everything in Europe is shrunken compared to where we are in North America. So I think there's a lot of people coming from Spain, Switzerland, Italy, that don't really get these PLEs, because the UK gets them a lot, but that's more Northern Europe, obviously. And I think there's a lot of crowd here that this was their opportunity to show up and show out. And I don't think we mentioned it, but it comes later in the show, but they had broken the gate record for an arena show because everyone was just so desperate for tickets to this. So we get RKO versus Bloodline. They both come out, they stare down for a bit and brawl off before they can hit the bell. And we're going to talk about the bell a little bit later.
Oh yeah, the bell is hilarious.
The referee is begging for the bell. There's security officials everywhere before they can hit the bell. Aldis comes out pretty much immediately to declare it a street fight, which it should have been from the beginning. But I actually kind of enjoyed the, kind of
the fake
not
out,
doing it. Yeah, not doing it from the bat and letting it breathe and grow organically and then declaring it a street fight in the moment. I like that touch. It's something you don't really see. And then I'm just going to go through the match here and we'll talk about it after. So KO is just smashing up the Prime display, which is great. Spitting on the Prime logo. Randy and Solo are fighting. KO and Tama are brawling. They're both in different areas of the crowd. Hot chaos everywhere, like the split screen. Weapons start to come out. And then for a nonsense anything goes match here, it's very entertaining. For a no rules bullshit weapons match, they're doing really unique stuff here and keeping my attention, and the crowd is helping. The crowd is keeping me very invested in this entire PLE. KO's doing a great job of selling the desperation, when he's getting the shit kicked out of him, kind of grabbing weapons that he finds on the ground when he's on the ground and half-assedly trying to hit the leg of Tama or hit the leg of Solo.
Yeah.
And they're doing some inventive stuff with the chairs here. So he starts setting up the chairs, and as we've learned, you cannot superplex Kevin Owens. Do not try it, especially if you have a bunch of chairs at the fucking bottom of your landing zone.
You will die.
He reverses it, and Tama is ready to prove himself to the locker room, no doubt. Because Jesus Christ, he eats like a fucking inverted power slam from the top rope onto 4 setup chairs, and it looks agonizing.
Oh, it's
this
devastating.
Man, I believe, is older than me too, and I can only imagine the levels of pain I would feel going through something like that.
Just inhuman. Inhuman.
And then RKO's about to win, and then all of a sudden fucking Tonga Toa comes to break up the count. And they celebrate, and Paul just looks absolutely fucking terrified next to the new bloodline. So let's talk quickly here about Tonga Toa. He is Tama Tonga's brother.
Adopted
Tonga
brother.
Loa,
Something.
sorry. I have Toa written here, and I keep saying it, and it feels wrong. Tonga Loa was in WWE years ago as Camacho. He's not a great wrestler. He wasn't a tag team with his brother in New Japan, and he's never really been the attraction. And, you know, we were all expecting Jacob Fatu. I think any of the smart marks were expecting Jacob Fatu here. And they kept this fucking signing under wraps. Nothing about this leaked on any of the dirt sheets. And to have him come out here is really setting up some exciting things for the Bloodline Civil War. Will, your thoughts on the match? I went on there a little bit too long.
No, the crowd made the match. I mean, this was a perfect symbiosis between the match and the crowd. They played off the crowd. The crowd was ready to react to every little thing that they were doing, all the setups, everything they were going. This match, when it started off, one thing I noticed right off the get-go. Oh, I guess it was happening the night before, but I didn't know until this match was when they were doing. There was every 2 count, they would do un, deux, sample deux, and it happened after every 2 count, and I couldn't get enough of it. There was a couple of fake finishes during this match, and I just started singing along.
Samplemande.
I love it. It's so
Which
good.
I later found out reading on the internet that was originated by the French commentators that they had ringside. That they would say Samplemante, and that's why they were. It's a tribute of to some extent to those men who have apparently been working for WWE for years,
forever apparently. So good. I was surprised that nobody bladed during this match, considering like the violence that has led up to it between Tama Tonga and KO. I would have expected if anybody was going to blade, it was either going to be. I mean, probably would have said KO or maybe Solo. Tama Tonga seems like a cop-out answer, but like, yeah, he seems down to blade anytime. But
he's down to blade. He's DTB.
Yeah, he's DTB. I was just surprised for how intense of a match that it went, and it went on for a long time too. This was like a 30-minute match. It really did go. It fucked. Just slugging each other. It was intense, crazy. I was expecting somebody to bleed, but nobody bled. At least not from like a classic blading sense. Maybe like a couple of scratches on the back and stuff like that. Randy.
Yeah, I was also a little shocked that there was no blow up between Randy, because there was a bit there pretty early where Randy was kind of doing the. You played Red Dead Redemption 2, right?
Yeah.
He was doing that thing with that one guy. He was doing the Gavin thing. Gavin?
Oh, yeah.
Gavin? Like he was just like looking for Kevin. Kevin? Where are you, Kevin? Help! Kevin?
Yeah.
I can't find you, Kevin.
Have you seen my friend? He said.
Have you seen my friend, Kevin? I thought they were going in that direction there early, but they kind of stayed away from it. So we still might see the blow up we were talking about that last week. That we might see those two go head to head at some point here. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, to that point, I think if anything, we'll probably need to build up a little bit more of resentment between them. So, like, we've got a serious loss here from the bloodline. Maybe we can, like, build up, like, one or two more losses between them, and maybe that will lead to, like, a feud in some way or format. That probably seems like the more natural way to do it. That being said, love these two. Love these guys working together. Randy... What you could tell, he's just a step slower than everybody else in the ring. But that's just, he's the oldest guy in the ring. He's been doing it the longest. I am worried about his back and his neck, because whenever he falls on his back, it looks like it's hell for him. Just hell.
Do you think he's selling, or do you think it's legit?
I hope he's selling. I hope to God he's selling, but he gets so red and he gets so sweaty. I don't know if you could sell that well just by like cringing, I guess. I don't know. If he is selling, then great. But those look so fucking painful for him. It looks like he's just like been in a sauna after that's been done. Ugh, it's brutal.
He has put in a shift of a career here, and he can't have much left because he has been working that WWE schedule too, like it's a grind, especially
it's a grind.
10 years ago. They were wrestling even more than they are now. And you were working like 150 dates a year, so yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think it's time yet. I love everything that Randy's doing right now. This is probably the funnest run he's ever had, and I can't wait to see him every week. Like it's so good, but he is getting up there, and I just don't want him to keep going for the sake of going and risk his back, because I don't want to see that. If it's fair time enough, to hang up the boots, then it's time. It's okay. But if he's just selling, then fuck yeah, dude, you're making it work for me, because it looks horrifying.
It's absolutely terrifying. All right, so let's move into the next one. We got the triple threat match here for the... I'm still struggling to remember which championships are on which, but I believe the Smackdown championship is the WWE championship. So the women's WWE championship, it's Bayley versus Naomi versus Tiffy. They start with very quick pin attempts here. It's all over the place, back and forth. They start amping up the action a little bit, but it's still mostly moves and pin attempts with brief incapacitations of the third competitor not involved in it. Then they start to spread out a little bit more and get on the floor a little bit, get some like further incapacitations, and have some spots where you can go one-on-one for a bit in the ring. I mostly this match, I wasn't like a huge fan of this match, but I thought they dealt with the escalation well. Really good execution of starting off with these quick pin attempts, making it realistic. As the match dragged on, they started to expand the nature. Because a lot of these triple threat matches end up with, someone gets fucking knocked out and thrown out. So throws into the ring, steps, then they're out for 10 minutes. And then you get one-on-one. And then the guy comes back. And then another guy gets thrown into a post. And then he's out for 10 minutes. So it was nice to kind of see this escalation of the match. It was very well done. Again, accentuated by the crowd. Tiffy got a huge fucking pop coming out, which, she is just rocket to the moon. And I'm going to talk about her rocket ship a little bit later when we talk about another NXT person who's made the move up. But she hasn't missed a beat since her call-up. She is a big game player. She feeds off the crowd. She feeds off the intensity. The bigger the match, the more she shows up, the more she's on time. The only real complaint I had here, other than the thing we touched on earlier where she kind of tried to hit that cartwheel Alabama slam and it was a little rough, is that the finish was super weak. It was just they did such a great job of escalating the stakes, and then it just ended with a weak finish with a pin reversal and a Bayley win on Naomi. Just a super weak finish. All things
weak finish. Yeah, weak finish. Honestly, I think Naomi was the one that caught my eye the most during this match, just by how much she's improved since Elimination Chamber. And this is when you watch Naomi wrestle Tiffy at Elimination Chamber compared to how she wrestled in this match, it's almost night and day. You know, it's not perfect for sure, but like Naomi's like really leveled up in the last little bit. Like
she's doing a great job getting back into I think it's also because she's working with real professionals. Because like not to throw too much shade at the women's division, women's wrestling in general. The talent in WWE is unparalleled. You can watch an AEW match and there is a disconnect between the storytelling and the matches, but the matches are fucking hot fire. But the women's matches don't go to the same level, you know? Like, the women's matches are just weaker in AEW. In every other promotion other than WWE, it's just so obvious. Or yes, maybe an AEW match will be much more interesting for the men, but the storytelling isn't there to kind of get you invested in it. The women's matches are just weaker in other places, period, right? So, I think Naomi's starting to kind of catch up to the talent of the division now that she's been around for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more question. So that Hey Bailey chant, is that just from like this past WrestleMania 40 that got started, or has that Hey Bailey chant been around for like 10 years and I didn't know?
I don't know about the Hey Bailey chant being around. I never heard it before. That song, which I believe is from the 80s, is very popular in soccer culture. It really showed up on my radar in North America because, like, I've been a soccer fan for a lot longer than it's been popular in North America. But it showed up on my radar in North America when one of the Canadian World Junior teams decided to make it their goal song. This was probably in like 2015. And I'm not saying that's the reason it got popular in North America, but it kind of coincided with a general that theme becoming more popular and in the zeitgeist of North American sports. So you can insert anything. The song is "Hey Baby, Ooh Ah, I Want to Know Will You Be My Girl." So Bailey fits right into that, right? So
absolutely,
I think it's more of something that's been growing naturally in sports in general.
Gotcha. So yeah, when I saw it I heard it at WrestleMania, and it was there in WrestleMania, but it wasn't like that loud. You could hear it in the background. It was there. You can definitely hear it. But here it was like, okay, so France is going to start just singing this song now, and we're all going to have to wait and listen because they're the show.
Thunderous. Yeah, they really were the best part of this PL. It reminded me a lot, actually, of the last Backlash, which was in Puerto Rico, where the crowd fucking stole the show, you know?
Yeah.
Very similar vibes. And, you know, the Puerto Rican crowd was more loud in a sense. It was an escalation of a North American crowd. Whereas this crowd was just like, it was like a fucking soccer match, you know? It was it was like a soccer match, but wrestling. It was a different vibe, but still similar massive amounts of energy being thrown out there.
Absolutely. It was like they were trained before coming in. I mean, they were just like, they've been prepped by soccer chants and soccer songs for years and years and years and years. But to see it transfer over into a wrestling show like this, that I've never seen this before, was just insane. It's just insane. And I just felt bad for everybody that had to go back home to the States, because like you go back home to the States and it's still the same stuff after that wild couple of nights. Ugh.
These are the vibes I bring to sporting events in North America, and then get fucking cockeyed looks from everyone around me for being too invested. And over the years,
taking your shirt off at a curling match was a little too far. Okay, you don't need to paint your entire body. Okay. Just the face is fine.
Vibes I tried to ingratiate into my sporting event things, and as I've gotten older and less self-conscious about it and not giving a fuck anymore, I just do it anyways, you know?
Yeah.
Like when we went to,
just for our listeners, hold on, I have my own story about this. We went to a baseball game in Edmonton once, and Tyler was like for this team called the Portland Pickles. He had his hat. He got a pickle scarf. I don't know what else he was painted. He was green. I can't really remember. And then by the end of the game, he had the other team's hat in his in his bag so that he could start cheering the other team so they could get more points and continue the baseball. The guy's a madman. He has no loyalty whatsoever. He just wants to see sport. More sport.
That was more of a bit, but yes, I did do that.
Oh man.
But that was more of a bit to kind of make me not get punched out by anyone in Edmonton.
I was hoping for it.
Yeah, like when we went to Smackdown, the crowd was pretty hot and it was okay. And I don't think it was really, I tried to also keep it a little bit quieter because there was children around. I tried to not swear. I tried to keep it PG, but still be excited. But when I went to AEW last year during Stampede, and you were working it, so you weren't really with us.
No.
The crowd was dog shit. And it wasn't dog shit because they weren't wrestling fans. It was dog shit because it was a bunch of snobby fucking wrestling nerds who wanted to show off how much they knew it was fake. And it's like, dude, why are you here? Why did you come to this event? It's wrestling. We all know it's a work. Put your fucking, that's part of the joy of going to one of these events, is to suspend disbelief and pretend like you want to murder this man who is punching your favorite person. Anyways, I'm going too far. Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay. So, we get flashes to Jay in the back. Solo and the Bloodline walk past them. Heyman eyes Jay like help me. Please, Jay.
It's so good.
I have made a huge mistake.
His lips quivering a little bit. He's like, oh.
And then we move on to Jay and Priest, which, I'll just go through it here. So Jay's really leaning into the yeets, playing mind games with Priest. Priest responding with just with ruthless aggression. Decent build of the match here, Priest really taking the strongman, brutalist stance on Jay. And then it all leads to, the whole match is, before I get to the finish, the whole match is very rote. And this is the problem with Jay, and we've talked about it before. He just doesn't have, you can call him main event Jey Uso all you want. He's so good with the crowd. He's so good on the mic. He's so good as a hype man. He's going to make a great manager when he retires.
Oh,
he's
God.
Going to make a great Paul Heyman 2.0. He's going to make a great Teddy Long. But he just does not have the in-ring capabilities to match the rest of his talents. And it just sucks that that's the truth. And I think we're too late for that to change. But there's just something there that's not quite clicking. Then we get to the finish. So McDonough comes in and hits the ropes, and Jay falls on his balls. Priest starts chewing out JD, and Jay super kicks JD. Priest takes an Uso splash and kicks out. We get into the false finishes. McDonough saves Priest by propping his leg up onto the rope, which I wasn't a huge fan of. And then a rough South of Heaven from the top rope for the victory. Finn and JD jump Jay at the end. Priest snaps on both of them and starts ripping them off. And then directs them to stand beside him in a very specific way and enjoy the victory pose. Other than Jay, which I've already talked about here, I'm not really sure where we're moving with this whole Judgment Day thing. It is a little inconsistent. And we've been seeing this for over a year now, hints of them breaking up and then pulling it back. It's just so is Priest pulling them off Jay at the end because he wants to be a respectful champion? Is it him saying, don't interfere because I want to win on my own merits? Because that's not very congruous with what we've seen from Judgment Day over the last little bit. And they kind of backtrack it right away on Monday, too.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Your thoughts. What do you think here?
I feel like they're biding their time until Rhea can come back on TV. It seems like she's going to be off for quite a while. And I'm worried if they feel like breaking up Judgment Day without Rhea is going to be a missed opportunity. But I also think that just keeping a kind of lackluster arc just swimming around the drain is also not good for business either. So they gotta pick a lane and stick with it. And the lane is to like finally set up some clear battlegrounds between Judgment Day right now. Especially like after seeing what happens on Monday, it's just kind of like, yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing? Where are we going with this? Like, is Priest like trying to be like a Gunther guy where he's like the honorable heel, but that's not what Judgment Day is. Like we have Dom, for God's sakes. Like that mustache is dishonorable. Like you gotta pick a lane. So I feel like I wouldn't be as frustrated with it if they played around with it a little bit more. Maybe not break up is the right answer, but they just kind of can't. All they really do is just tease it and then backtrack, and then tease it and then backtrack, and then tease it, backtrack, and it's not doing anything. Like
it's getting boring. Yeah,
it's getting boring. Let's switch it up. Let's change it up. But maybe that's coming with Clash of the Castle.
Eventually. Hopefully, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how Priest ends up losing the title, is by interference that goes wrong. And then you get to save face with Priest as a main eventer, but you still get a little touch of Drew getting over. Anyways, we'll see where it goes from it. So let's move into Bianca and Jade versus the Kabuki Warriors for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Bianca and Asuka start and kind of show how you actually are supposed to wrestle. And I was saying if we watched this together, I was like, oh no, that means Jade and Kairi are next. Like at least Jade can like overpower Kairi really easily, so it kind of keeps up that aspect of it. But both of them are just a step below all of the main women, specifically people of the talent of Bianca and Asuka. But it's pretty decent. They're not doing a terrible job. And
it's fine until...
Let's talk about the legal man. So, I never went back. I did say in the moment while we were watching this that I was going to go back and watch it, but I didn't end up doing it. So, The referee basically, I can't remember who the two were, but a pin attempt is made by, I believe, Kairi
onto
Jade.
Bianca. I think it's Bianca.
Onto Bianca.
Yeah. And
the ref blows it off like, no, you're not the legal man, Kairi. Apparently, according to the internet in the moment, I read that she was, and that the ref missed a tag. But kudos to the ref for trying to stick to the rules and stick to the legal man, but he just, was his headset down for too long, because he really committed to this bit that she was not the legal man. And they needed, if you're going to call attention to it, it either has to be kayfabe or it has to be directed from someone in the back to really lean into it like that.
Yeah.
And it just takes you right the fuck out of the match. Right at that moment, things were going okay, all things considered. And then the ref's trying to tell Kairi that she's not the legal man, but I don't think Kairi understands because English is her second language. And then we get a bunch of tags that the referee is trying to be like, okay, that's a tag, but if he's counting that as a tag, he then tries to say that the person who's tagging in is actually the person tagging out, which makes no sense with tags because you can't tag from outside of the ring to someone who's inside of the ring to make it a legal tag.
Yes, I know. It's hot chaos.
Yeah.
This is where following the rules, I know it's a fake fucking sport, but this is where holding the rope, following the rules is very important for everybody in that ring. And the referee, not just the talent. It's everybody. And it just sucked that it just sucked that it seemed like it was just poor communication across everybody. There was tags made across the board, and unfortunately, I don't think there was a way to get out of this situation. As soon as that ref excuse me. As soon as that ref made that decision, it was kind of like lights out for the rest of the match. And then they still went for another like 10 minutes. I was like, wow, they're not going to try to like sweep this under the rug or anything. Nope, they're just going to keep going. And that led to a bunch of like tags that were very panicked because I think they just wanted to make it like change up the legal man enough that like we forget that whole situation happened. And I think after 5 minutes we kind of do, but it is a 5-minute period throughout this match that you're just not in it. You're like, what the fuck is happening? Even the crowd started chanting something. I think they said something along the lines of
it was the French. It was the French. You fucked up, essentially.
Yeah. French, you fucked up. Everybody knew it. I felt bad, but at the same time, France did do that, but then they still cheered at the end like crazy. Like they're just so passionate about everything. They just know
they came around too.
They came around. Yeah, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and it kind of got a little bit better once the ref finally gave up.
Yeah,
and,
fuck it.
Then Jade kind of had that impressive display of power on Kyrie at the end. And we got the dueling finishers, and Bianca and Jade win the belts, which we expected here. So not bad, really, except for that moment that really took us out of the whole thing.
Yeah. It was it was just unfortunate.
So then we get into the main event. It's AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes. AJ's wearing gear calling back to the night he won the NWA Championship over Dusty in TNA.
Nicely
just
done.
The crowd reaching a fever pitch here. You know, you didn't want them to burn out too early. They brought so much hype, both for Smackdown and Backlash. You know, there's probably a lot of people, probably 50% of the crowd that are going to both. The crowd is just deafening for AJ. A wild intro for Cody.
Yeah.
They continue to sing his song for another few bars after they cut the music.
Yeah, but they knew exactly when to stop, too. They sang the same bars, and then they started cheering all at the same time. Nobody knew. Nobody was like, let's keep it going. Let's do the whole song. No, they knew exactly where to stop, and I thought that was insane in crowd psychology. Like, they just knew.
It was perfect.
They just knew when to stop it. And, like, even when there was, like, moments of promo on SmackDown, you could hear a pin drop. They stopped talking. They were paying attention. Like, it was insane to me, like, how invested they were in the whole thing, and while also being just like just fans, even when things weren't like smooth, like the last Bianca Jade Kabuki Warriors match, they were still fans.
Yeah.
I do want to call out that the chant that they had for AJ, if you don't know what it is and you missed Backlash at all, the chant was il est vraiment phenomenal, la la la. So that just, it really is like, I think in France they're legally required to sing this song every time somebody says the word phenomenal. I would try, actually, if any of you are in France at all, I would go check it out. So say phenomenal, just scream it into the street, see what happens. I think the entire country has to legally sing that song, and they go crazy.
It is true.
They go crazy.
It is true. They are phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, like, the match was, like, you know, it was definitely elevated by the crowd. It wasn't anything spectacularly special. There was some great moments, you know, the Stardust cartwheel to the AJ close-up, and AJ just mouthing motherfucker.
That was so good.
AJ really working the arm, you know, solid professionalism, just, you know, ratcheted up to 11 by the crowd. More of like an older style heavyweight belt here. Lots of little stuff, lots of breathing room. Which, when you have a crowd like this, that's all you need to do. You know, you don't need to AEW this shit when you have a crowd this hot. I did enjoy the one count kick from Cody when he hulked up, and Styles just looking fucking terrified.
What the hell's going on?
The Cody Cutter and the kick out was nice. The Fight Forever chance was great. AJ just eating the shit out of a super kick reversal on the phenomenal forearm. Really just like selling out for Cody. He was great. Yeah. And it was really strange to me to see Kimura that late in the match. I really enjoy things like that. I like submission finishers. I like submissions being treated as match enders. I know a lot of people don't really like that. They'd rather see the explosive move, but I liked that a lot. I got to kind of touch back with Brock putting him over last summer with the Kimura. And then, a top rope Cody cutter looked rough, but AJ did a good job of selling it.
Yeah, he jumped back at the right time. Like, it looked like Cody got a little too much air, and AJ was just a smidge too close. But as soon as they connected, AJ, solid professional like he is, knew how to kick out so that they would both land safely. A little bit rough, but it worked. They made it work.
And I do enjoy the Cody cutter from the top rope. It's kind of like, I know you haven't really experienced so much, and we're going to talk about him a little bit later here, Ilya Dragunov. He's got the H-bomb, but he's got the H-bomb in like 6 different ways because it is just a really big punch. So he's got kind of the standard H-bomb. He's got the H-bomb to the ground. He's got the H-bomb from the middle rope. And then he's got like the super H-bomb from the top rope that he can bust out for like major events. And I do enjoy that Cody cutter from the top rope to kind of really escalate it as like the ultimate finisher in a match where you need it.
Yep, absolutely. But then he finishes it with a Crossroads. Because I think the Crossroads is his like real finisher. And I wonder if there's a way that, like doing the Crossroads 3 times is the way I think is like the ultimate finisher for Cody. Like that's reserved for Roman types and maybe Rock types in the future. But I guess
the Three Amigos style kind of.
Yeah. Do you think
doing the move 3 times?
Sorry to take a tangent here, but do you think Dom will ever hit the Three Amigos?
I think he has, but I don't think it's ever led to a win.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, he's really trying. He's growing a mustache out now. I mean,
he looks so fucking greasy.
It's so greasy. And he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, he knows exactly what he's doing. Well, let's move on to it right now. Any more thoughts about Backlash? I mean, obviously, we cannot say enough about the crowd. The atmosphere was incredible. Turned otherwise what we would expect to be a meaningless pay-per-view into our PLE into something that was truly transcendent. But yeah, any other thoughts on the card in general?
No, everything in general, everything that I will take from this, the main thing I'll take from this is the crowd. This is how you're supposed to behave at wrestling. I understand now. All right, I'm not going to sit there next time. In fact, we probably should have spent the real money and gone to right to the ring when Raw comes into town. We should have done it because we can teach the people. We can teach the people, Tyler.
If we go up like one more tax bracket, I think we do it.
Okay, one more tax bracket. We're so close.
We'll see where we are next event.
I'm not that close, but
neither
I'll talk to you in 6 months.
All right, so let's move right into Raw, May 6th in the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. So yeah, it's the Raw after a PLE, but we're post-draft, we're post-PLE, should be pretty exciting. We got King of the Ring going on, a new season to some extent here, moving into King of the Ring, which I fucking love. I'm so happy to see King of the Ring. I haven't been back full-time in wrestling to watch King of the Ring in a long time. So we start off with Judgment Day. I do like the dual brand specific brackets for the King of the Ring. I want to mention that before we get into it, really. I do like how they're kind of splitting it up, like one bracket with SmackDown, one bracket with Raw. Keeps everything separate, lets you progress some storylines in the short term. And just from like a sports fan standpoint, it just makes more sense to me to see it that way, and I like that. So Finn apologizes on behalf of what happened during the match.
See what I
Priest
mean?
Apologize for what happened after. They embrace. And then, like that's what we were talking about here, It's just you're not progressing this storyline whatsoever, It's revealed that Drew is not medically cleared, so Finn thinks that he's going to get the bye. But Pierce comes out to say that Jay is the sub for the match, and it starts basically right away. And, like as we say before, I wrote it back here again, but we've already talked about it. It's just Jay has so much charisma in the ring. I just wish he just had a little bit more talent with the actual wrestling portion. I also wish Finn was like 25% bigger, because he would be one of the greatest of all time. They'd be so much more willing to push him if he was just had such a just a slightest more stronger build on him.
Right, yeah.
They play to his strengths, and Finn's an incredible wrestler. I think he's very undervalued by everyone, from like the office to the people who watch it. He truly is so good in the ring, but you can't fight the size that was given you genetically. It's very hard to overcome. Drew comes in from the crowd at the end. To cause a distraction for Jay, but he gets hammered with CM Punk chants. Jay recovers and wins the match. Anything you want to talk about with this one? This is all pretty fucking standard.
This is pretty bog standard stuff. Everything we've said before about Jay is, it applies
standard all
well.
around. Yeah. So then we get Drew chewing Pierce in the back.
Single shot segments. Give me that production. Yeah.
I love it. He pulls out in a car. This is where it shows that I know nothing about vehicles. So he rips out of there in a nice looking car, a nice new nice looking sports car, and then immediately right after, Punk pulls in behind him in a cooler, older car.
Now
another car. A cool looking car.
I don't know my cars very well, but it looked like a Firebird to my eyes, but I could have that wrong.
Is that a car?
Yeah, it's a car. Is
that one of those cars I've heard so much about?
Yeah,
it's a really cool looking car.
Look, I'm a Nissan Rogue guy myself, lots of trunk space.
Yeah, you might as well just have a fucking child and 3 dogs. Jesus Christ, Nissan Rogue. Why am I don't even know. I don't even know cars.
Good for groceries.
Yeah. I look at your car and I think, wow, that's a real dad car right there.
I got a real
soccer mom car.
I got a real mom car. I got even it's like mom colored red too, because I couldn't do the white.
It's lipstick red.
Every time I look at it on the street, it's like I don't know what it is, but everybody in the city has this car. Like everybody.
So many Nissan Rogues. So many red
6 of them on the way to work
everywhere. Fucking wild. I see them all the time.
Bonkers.
It's Will. Nope, it's not.
Nope. It's a mom on the way to soccer
Punk pulls
practice.
in. Punk pulls in his car. Asks Pierce to tell the truck to play his music, and then we get the one shot.
Well, hold on.
Some shade
He gets out and he says that he's asking if Drew is there, and then Adam Pearce is like, he literally just left, and there's a pause where he's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm here to look for Drew." Anyway, I got something to say. Hit my music, and that's when he goes, "Remember the details, Tyler. This is your job."
We do a lot of details on this podcast already. So we get into the one shot. He's walking to to Gorilla, and then out on the stage. He throws some shade at Jackie Redmond because of the Leafs, which was pretty cool for me.
Great
and
stuff.
Then we see Gable just chewing out Alpha Academy. He
so good.
daps up Gable, but he's also like, take it easy on these fucking guys. Jesus Christ, Chad.
And I loved how everybody in Alpha Academy, they just have their heads down. They're just so sad looking. Gable is just like, "You're not listening to me. You're not winning enough." Just tearing it. And then, "Oh, hey, Punk. Hey, good to see you."
Good to see you, bud. So he heads out. He heads out to the ramp, and I remember that Punk's a big hockey fan. Just threw shade at the Leafs, and we're in Hartford. I just wrote here, please say something about the Whalers. So he gets out there, he tells everyone to tweet and post pictures. He wants Drew to cycle back and get here ASAP, and you know that Drew's going to be on social media, and he's going to wait for Drew to get back out here. He's going to hijack the whole fucking show until Drew gets out here. Then he throws a line out about Gordie Howe and the Whalers, and I just wrote, let's fucking go. That's what I wanted. I love Whaler talk in general. He's basically... I don't want to undersell it here. He delivers what is just an insanely incredible promo that if anyone gave it, at any other point, I would be splooging all over it. But it's just standard CM Punk here. He's so fucking good at this shit.
He's so good.
The only thing I wanted to point out is when he calls himself a 5-tool player and Drew is just a tool, which I absolutely adored. Just so great stuff on the mic. Thoughts, Will?
Well, I mean, there's nothing. You've covered it all. I mean, it was fantastic. I love the whole segment. I love him saying like, all right, last time we tried to do this in a shorter amount of time than Drew's title reign. This time, we're going to try to push the time limit. We're going to break the record. We're going to try to talk for longer than Drew's title reign, which I thought was fantastic. And I love this whole, like, the angle that he took, like, well, what do you do when you're up here and you got to talk about something? But I don't have anybody to talk to, but what he will do is tell you a story. And I'm like, let's go. Like, I turned, like, everything around. I'm like, I'm shushing up people that are nowhere near me. I got a story from CM Punk. Let's go. I'm like scooching up closer to the television. So good. And then literally, this is like in the aftermath of the Drake Kendrick beef. I went online and I found that somebody took the beat from Meet the Grams, Kendrick's diss, and just played it underneath in CM Punk's entire promo. And let me tell you,
devastating.
Absolutely
devastating.
It's even on beat. It's fucked. How good. And even CM Punk even drops a Kendrick mention during his promo where he's like, he hates the way I talk. He hates the way I walk. He hates the way I dress. I felt like that was a nod to Kendrick in a way. It was too close.
No, I think it definitely was 100%.
Yeah. And drawing heat between the two of them and comparing it to like the Drake Kendrick beef that's going on, I thought that was fantastic. Like just staying relevant like that, breaking kayfabe in a smart way to like reference the rest of the world. Good stuff.
Absolutely here for it. Then we start moving into some matches here because we've got King and Queen of the Ring, so we're gonna have a lot of match-centric stuff coming here in the next few weeks, which I'm always here for. We get into Io Sky versus Natalya for Queen of the Ring, and I wrote here squash match. Interesting to see no Asuka coming out with Damage Control. Great, and this thing fucking surprised the shit out of me. Absolutely incredible mat wrestling off the jump. So smooth. Nice to see Io giving Natalya some rub. Talk about getting the crowd. These people were sitting on their hands at the beginning of this match thinking the same thing I was, which was squash. And they build this match and fucking earn it. Io gets the win eventually, as we expect, with some minor interference. But just like what a perfect example this match is of wrestling within your constraints and a testament to fluidity and competence by Natalya and the willingness of Io to work with someone who has so much experience and work in their style. Natalya hasn't looked this good on camera in ages. I cannot believe how great of a match they put on here. Were you tracking this at all, or were you just kind of had it on in the background and not really paying attention?
This one where I had to put it on the background. I think I had to start doing some work, dishes and stuff.
If I know you won't go back and watch it, but like if I had to suggest it, this was an incredibly surprising match for the level of quality that it was. I was shocked.
Cool.
It was just so terrific to see Natalya treated. Like, I know she's getting older, and I know she's more of an executive behind the scenes at this point. She's more of a producer for the women. But she put on a fucking show here without ever having to really do anything crazy like Io. And Io did a great job of working within those boundaries and putting on a hell of a show. And everything was just so smooth and crisp. I was very impressed by this match. And I would encourage you to go back and watch it, even though I know it won't happen. But yeah, just big props to both of these competitors. And then it leads into a Dakota promo, basically just restating Damage Control's intentions moving forward. Nothing very impressive here, but that's what it was. And then we get to Ilya Dragunov versus Richard O'Shea.
Yes.
So...
yeah.
A decent pop for Ilya here off the top, which is great to hear. The fans know that he's impressive. They know he's important. Not sure how I felt in the beginning about Richard coming out without the speed belt.
Yeah,
I guess
thought
they're
that
just
was
kind
weird.
of treating the WWE speed thing as like a series of tournaments where you don't actually hold the belt, you just win the belt. But in that case, like maybe make it a trophy or like a medallion.
Something. Yeah, because not wearing it, I was like, interesting. Are you watching Speed at all?
Yeah.
Because every time
Absolutely
it's on,
not.
I'm missing it. And I feel like I should watch it, but I haven't caught a single one yet.
No, I have no fucking interest in that whatsoever. That just reeks
enough.
of velocity and heat and other things that I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about. Now that I'm saying them out loud.
Heat is warm. Heat is warm.
Heat is indeed warm. There used to be like a Sunday series of shows they would do called Heat, Sunday Night Heat, WWE Velocity. I'm trying to think. There was like they just kept cycling through these names, and it would
Fair
be
enough.
Sunday shows with undercard people that were basically just televised dark matches.
Gotcha.
That
All right.
would be pre-recorded before or after these live events, and then it was just an hour of programming to kind of toss there, and they would just, in syndication, they'd just sell them to places. They'd be on like TSN at like 4 p.m. on Sundays, like random things like that. And
Fair
you'd
enough.
see like at that point you'd see like
I
Maven
get the
versus-
gist. I get the gist.
Yeah, you get it. You fucking get it.
Yeah.
It would be like Tozawa. It's like main event. WWE main event. That series.
I get it.
You get it. Okay. Okay, so the match starts. A great showcase for Ilya's multiple talents here, from the high flying stuff to the Greco-Roman, throws and power, to the mat awareness. He's so good about knowing where he is in the ring and what getting a sense of the crowd. Just some highlights: the corkscrew plancha onto the floor by Richard. Like, Jesus fucking
Good
Christ,
stuff.
throwing your
Good
body
stuff.
out there and nailing it. And then, holy Christ, this just becomes like a pay-per-view main event level match. It just starts building and building and building and building, and it just keeps going and going, and the time just keeps knocking. Like, I'm like, holy fuck, we're like 45 minutes into this thing, I think. I have no idea who's winning in this match. For most of this match, leading into it, I thought, we'll showcase Ilya a little bit. Our brand new WWE Speed Champion's going to go over in the end, though. But
They deliver a banger.
it just keeps fucking going and going and escalating and escalating. The Torpedo Moscow to recoil counter with a kick at 2. A second H-bomb while bleeding from the forehead because of the counter.
Yeah, and then
It's one of those matches where...
Ilya's face
Go ahead.
during all of this is amazing. All his facial reactions, like every time he takes a bump, he starts holding his jaw like, they fucked my face. Just the craziest stuff coming up. And then when after like some crazy spot on the floor, Ilya just screams. He's just, whatever he's doing, keep doing all of that forever. And the face he made at the end after he won after that H-bomb, which looked devastating. Oh, it looked brutal. I wasn't really sold on it at first. I think I saw it a few times on NXT, but I seeing it here, something about it, just like it looked like he killed. It looked like he killed Richard.
It looked like he fucking murdered him. He looked
brutal.
like he also kind of killed himself and just like collapsed onto him for the pin.
Yeah.
It's one of those matches that is the best matches for me to just say I don't have any notes because I couldn't look away. It just was so good that I didn't even want to make notes because I didn't want to miss a second of it. Really, really super impressive all around. Great showing for Ilya. Obviously, you kind of have to have this thing at the end with Ilya shaking Richard's hand because, like, he's such a fucking killer out there that if you're going to keep him babyface, you have to have him do these, like, honorary things at the end to not jeopardize his standing with the crowd because the crowd's going to be like, this is a fucking murderer. So you kind of have to have him, like, shake hands and like put the other guy over at the end, or it just feels like you're building a heel with the amount of intensity and aggression that he has.
Yeah.
And then let's just bang in a couple of these here because it's we get into nothing territory. We got Ivy Nile versus Zoe Stark. It's really tough to follow that last match. Mostly just a half squash for Zoe. And we got lots of matches to get through on this night, so I'm sure the way we're feeling it, they were too. We get a backstage thing with Truth pitching Pierce on a champion versus champion match, and then fucking Dan Hurley is here for some reason. Who you don't know who that is.
I had no idea what this guy. I'm pretty sure he taught me science once.
Yeah, and Miz, just for our fans who do care about this, I know there's at least one. Miz says Awesome Truth can't face Yukon. They play basketball. And Miz or Truth says, the coach is part of a small wrestling promotion named the NCAA.
Oh boy.
Okay, sure. Braun comes in after, wants to know why he's not in King of the Ring. Pierce invites him into his office to discuss why, so I'm sure we're going to get something set up there in the near future. Then we get JD in the back, Judgment Day in the back, and Finn is sad. Dom walks in with Carlito. Priest isn't having any of it. This is like the second or third time this has happened with Dom. So, we see first it was with Andrade, then it was with Santos, and now it's with Carlito. So definitely kind of feeling the vibes of the cracks forming on the Dom side of Judgment Day. Then we get Gable versus Bronson Reed for King of the Ring. It's a pretty strong start. Gable does well, highlighting Bronson's strengths. Big suplex off the top, and then Sammy jumps in, starts beating the hell out of Gable. And then Reed's pissed, obviously, because that's a DQ. He takes them both out. And this is just getting a little repetitive with these nonsense run-ins, but we're later going to learn that it is setting up for a Sammy challenge for a triple threat match at King of the Ring. Anything you want to touch on here, or should I just keep going?
No, just keep going. There's not too much. I mean, I was surprised to see Sammy jump in and attack Gable like that, but also not surprised. It was what it was.
It's just getting a little repetitive. That's the only thing that I really hate about this. Camera then follows Bronson Reed into Gorilla. Pierce is there and complains, these guys can't control themselves. And Reed says he only cares about the title. He doesn't care about these petty feuds. He doesn't care about the people. He just wants that belt. Then we get Becky coming out to get interviewed with Cole in the ring. They talk about the hat at the Kentucky Derby. Becky does a great little job here, quickly putting over all the women from NXT that have been called up over the last year. Then Liv interrupts with a mic. She's walking down the ramp, blah, blah, blah. She's underappreciated. Dakota Kai then comes out to interrupt, blah, blah, blah. We're underappreciated. Time to remind you who we are, who runs Raw. They surround the ring. Becky and Liv go back to back, and then Liv just bails. So Lyra comes out to help. Any thoughts here? Should I just keep going?
Keep going. It was fine.
Yeah, so that pushes right into Lyra versus Dakota. And you can kind of tell here, maybe in the past I would suggest that NXT is not the main event roster. There's two different crowds. But after what we saw with the pop for Ilya, the whoop that trick chance when Mello got drafted, Lyra's not getting nearly as much. Also, Tiff, when Tiffy came out for the first time, she got a huge pop from the crowd. Lyra's not really getting anything here from the crowd compared to these recent call-ups.
Yeah,
she also doesn't really look very comfortable in this match against Dakota Kai. It was a pretty meh match all around, and I think both of these two have shown me a lot in the past. But this was maybe the weakest match of the night, even over Zoe and Ivy Nile, just because I expected more from this. I really worry that Lyra may have been called up just a bit too early. I've seen her do a lot better in other matches on NXT, so it gives me hope. But, I'm not really a fan of her gimmick in general.
Yeah, what is it? Just hopeful winged lady?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's almost aspects of a face Valhalla. especially when you put
Gotcha.
the Valkyria in there. You kind of have echoes of Viking lore, and she's kind of positioned that in a little bit of a way. It just doesn't really hit for me, and the crowd doesn't seem like it's hitting for them either.
Yeah, something's got to
So
change
that's something
there.
to keep an eye on, right? Then we get Kofi promo on Gunther, which was a little strange because it was a little overly serious. Kofi's rocking that Palm Angels jacket, which is Finn Balor's special. He also doesn't take sides on the Kendrick Drake debate. He he's like, I'm gonna fight you just like Drake and Kendrick are fighting. He doesn't like take a side, which is like, if you're gonna say it, like, I don't know.
Take a side.
Obviously pick Kendrick if you want to be hard as fuck.
Take a fucking side.
Bitch. I mean, you
Don't
are
be
a
a
New
bitch.
Day, I guess.
Take
I think
a side.
the average New Day stan is going to be a Drake fan over a Kendrick fan, but whatever. The whole thing is just kind of out of place and weird.
Drake rocks. Drake rocks.
Then we get into the main event with this Gunther versus Sheamus. Big heavyweight start here. Lots of blows back and forth. Not a lot of wrestling, just a lot of striking.
Just a lot of meat. A lot of
hammer and meat. Good submission here at the halfway point to kind of give Sheamus some recovery time. You know, he's still definitely catching up to ring shape, especially against someone who's so in tune like Gunther. Mm-hmm. I just wish like stuff like this would happen during the break. You know, we have commercial breaks scattered through. Like, I don't think they hit a commercial break. Well, they definitely did, but they didn't hit many commercial breaks without being in a match this week because there's so many matches to get through in the opening stages of King and Queen of the Ring.
Yeah.
Like, put that shit in the break. Put the Sheamus, headlock breathing spot during the break. Don't fucking clog up the TV time I have for it. Yeah. Leads to some Kaiser interference, which I never really loved with Gunther. I really do prefer him as the honorable bad guy with like a code of conduct.
For sure.
Especially like in I don't want to say a nothing match, but like in an intro King of the Ring match. Whatever. So Sheamus is really playing up the knee injury from Kaiser, and that was a nice little touch in the storytelling aspect in the second half of the match. I did like the knee giving out and the stumble into the power bomb. That was really smooth and cool. And then great work by Gunther escalating the attacks on the knee, building a crescendo to really nailing it from all angles and more powerful moves. And then working that half crab for the win. Both look fucking gassed at the end. It was a good match. Like, I don't want to undersell it. I feel like it could have been better, and they've put better matches on before. I really do feel like, when you see at the end there, Gunther's sweating profusely and everything, but like Sheamus looks like a bag of ass.
Yeah, he's catching up.
Exhausted. He's sweaty. He's got these just welts on him from Gunther, which, props to him. He asked for it and probably told him before the match, really beat the shit out of me. Let's sell this shit. But between the welts and the blood blisters and the cracked everything and the out of breathness and the sweatiness, like, he just looked fucking haggard as shit by the end of it.
Tired. But that's a lot of man to be moving around in that ring right now. But he's getting like he's leaning out a little bit. Every week I see him, he cuts a little bit. He cuts a little bit. He cuts a little bit. So I think part of it is just he's just so big right now. Like, he's a fucking huge guy. And then you're fighting another fucking huge guy, and both of these guys like to hit each other. It's a lot to keep up with, especially after a couple of months. How long was he out? 9 months?
About that, yeah. He left right when Edge did.
Yeah, so it's a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. And then it's pretty hard out there. I think they were kind of running up on the clock with everything that had happened. And that's Raw for this week. Shall we move into a game or anything else you want to talk about with Raw?
We'll move into a game.
Okay, let's see if I can do this one. So I had a whole thing planned out for this song, but then it got way too intricate. And it was way too much work. So I'm just going to hit you with the chorus. Because I didn't want to memorize this and blow it 7 times. This is not the WrestleMania pod. This is something they can save for another day, but okay. Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays, every giant want to pose with their arms crossed or raised, but nothing comes close was the man from France, leaving people in a trance. He'd never forget about the giant André. Nowadays, every giant want to pose with their arms crossed or raised, but nothing comes close was the man from France, leaving people in a trance. He can never forget about the giant André. Okay, I nailed it twice. That's good enough. That's all you're getting. I nailed it twice, and that's it.
That's
you can
good.
just all you listeners can just extrapolate. I started writing the entire first verse of that rap. And it got way too much. Okay, so so in honor of Backlash in France, Will had kind of floated it when we were watching Backlash that maybe the quiz should be like famous French wrestlers like from France. Turns out there's like one, and it's André the Giant. So I just pivoted to a full André the Giant quiz for you, Will. So I have 5 questions for you about André the Giant.
Okay.
And your goal here will be to get 3 out of the 5. So the first 3 questions are multiple choice. The final 2 are just give me the answer. So on the first question, Will, André the Giant had a build height when he was introduced to the ring of what height? A, 7 feet. B, 7 feet 2 inches. Or C, 7 feet 4 inches.
I think 7 feet 2 inches.
Is that your final answer, Will?
It is.
That is incorrect. He was billed at 7 feet 4 inches. In reality, it seems the general consensus is that he was about 7 or 7'2". And as he got older and more haggard, he started to shrink from his spine being compressed from his giganticism.
Gotcha.
Which is a really depressing way to start this quiz. Question number 2, Will. The build weight of André the Giant. André the Giant was billed weight of A, 480 pounds, B, 500 pounds, or C, 520 pounds.
520 seems just too big. But then again, like, it's WWE, and it's during the 80s, and it's during the 70s, and they just lie about shit all the time.
This is also the company that billed Giant Gonzalez at 8 feet tall, which was about 6 inches too high for that man.
Damn, I would say it was 480, 500, and 520.
Correct.
I feel like I can hear the announcers saying 500. Lifting the 500-pound man and smashing him to the floor during the Hulk Hogan match. I'm going to say 500.
The irresistible force meets the immovable object. That is incorrect, Will.
God
he was billed at 520 cubic pounds.
All right. Now I know the trend here.
Question number 3, Will. How old was André the Giant when he died? Was he A, 46 years old, B, 50 years old, or C, 54 years old?
I think he was young, like 47. Final answer, 47.
So are you going with A, 46, or B, 50?
No, I thought you said 47. 46.
Okay, so you're going with A, 46. That is correct, Will. He was 46 years old, which is a fucking tragedy. Okay, so we're out of the multiple choice questions here. Will, question number 4. How many WWF championships did André the Giant win? How many times did he win the WWF World Heavyweight Championship?
That is the question, isn't it? That is the question.
Would you like? I will give you multiple choice if you would like.
No, don't give me multiple choice, because I'm working it through my head. I don't think he won it. I feel like he didn't, but wouldn't he? But
I will say that you have to remember André the Giant, much like The Undertaker, is an attraction all upon himself. You didn't really need to give the belt to André to put him over.
No, and he did so much indie stuff that, like, he got different belts while doing the indie scene and doing the territories. He got all kinds of belts during that, but I don't think they gave him that belt. So I'm going to say he didn't win it. I don't think he won it. Final answer.
That is incorrect, Will. He
Fuck.
won the championship one time.
One time.
One time he was the championship. He was the champ. Jesus Christ, I keep interchanging champion and championship. He won the title on February 5th, 1988 over Hulk Hogan. And I believe he gave that belt back pretty quickly after that. Okay, last question. So, André the Giant was the first inductee into the WWE/WWF Hall of Fame in a class by himself. What year was this announced, / what year was the Hall of Fame founded? Because his death kind of spurred this happening to some extent. Ooh. But he was in a class by himself. Which year was this announced?
Oh, man. And then
you've already lost this, so I'm going to give you a hint that it was 2 months after his death.
Okay. Fuck, and I don't even know that. Well, then he dropped the belt in 88. Or like a few months after he won the belt.
Presumably, I don't think he had the belt for very long.
But and then Princess Bride came out in 1991, 92. I don't think it was the 80s. Fuck. Then he died pretty shortly after that. I can't remember. 94? No. Yeah, 94 sound. No, that doesn't sound right. Does it sound right?
It is not 94, but you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm in the neighborhood. God damn. Okay.
Here, I'll give it away for you. It was the last year the Blue Jays won the World Series. A fact every Canadian knows.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 1993. I don't know.
Nailed it. That is correct. 1993.
Hell yeah. It was the Jays, baby.
He died in January of 1993. They announced it in March of 1993 and then did the ceremony before the King of the Ring of that year. That's it for this week, Will. I think we did pretty good here with our timing for a 3-event week. We're going to try to keep it a little bit closer to kind of expect a little bit more of a WWE speed vibe going forward.
I was just going to make that
today.
Joke. Prick.
Baby. Please rate and review our podcast. Please subscribe. Tell your friends, any of your wrestling friends. Email us at 14123%@gmail.com. We're starting to build up a decent amount of emails here. So we will shortly be having, I think, our first Talk to the Audience episode where we kind of field some of these emails we've been getting. So please get those emails in now before our first episode of that. Will, any plugs this week?
This week is the final week of Season 7 for the Chapter by Chapter podcast. We are wrapping up our coverage of Children of Dune, and then Steve and I are driving right into the future, going into God Emperor of Dune. I think we're looking to release that next month at some point, but no promises. And then, of course, if you live in Calgary or surrounding areas, I am opening for the original Teenage Dirtbags themselves, Wheatus, at Modern Love, Friday, May 10th. I'm hyping it up, but the show is sold out, so maybe I can sneak you in, but we'll see.
Scalp some tickets.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at Sacrifice. We will talk to you next week.